Thanks for stopping by. I'm trying out something new here. I'm going to talk about some industry stories and maybe give you some advice. Maybe you'll find it helpful, or maybe you'll just enjoy listening to it. Thought today I'd start off by talking about how I got my first job. I get asked that a lot. How do you find work in this industry? It's part luck, which I do tell my students that luck is just preparation plus time. I don't know who said that originally, but I like it, so I tell people that. Really, it is about being prepared and being ready for the moment when that moment appears because you never know when it's going to happen. And it's also about kind of who you know. So, my first job, it actually happened because I was in college. I was learning 2D animation right about the time that 2D animation was totally killed off. And I wish I had seen that coming sooner. I would have started doing 3D a lot earlier. Well, I was, staying in the building every day until like midnight with a buddy of mine. We'd be doing our 2D animation. I honestly am not that good at drawing. I don't know why I thought that I could any 2D animation, but I was trying. I was animating. I was doing my best. And anyway, there was a guy in that class that had somehow gotten a job with a small game studio, and he emailed me one day and he said, "Hey Brian, are you uh, are you still doing 3D?" And I lied. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing 3D." I had barely done any 3D. I'd taken like one class, maybe two classes at that point on 3D modeling. Yeah, I didn't really know a whole lot. And he said, "Well, this company I'm working for, they're desperate for some help." Which it's kind of crazy now, even thinking that any company was ever desperate to have somebody be a 3D artist. There's so many of us now. So anyway, I went down there for an interview, and they didn't even really look at my stuff. I had like a crappy portfolio. It wasn't anything to be excited about. The art director, he kind of just like quickly looked through. He didn't even look at it. He just clicked on each page of my website, and then he sent me off to the guy that's kind of running the show. And that guy said, "Do you have any experience?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to school for this." And he said, "Can you start today?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I could start today." He's like, "Well, you have to use your own computer though, because we don't have any other computers." So I drove back home. It was like a 50-minute drive. I drove back home, got my laptop, and went back to the studio. And yeah, I started my journey there. Luckily, all of the models I had to make, they're like, it was for a Facebook game, so that you just had to take renders, like two renders, and then it'd go into a Flash game, which was great because I didn't really know anything about topology or optimization. I didn't even know how to UV map at the time. It was crazy. So I think the first model I made was this. It was supposed to look like it was out of a toy box. So I made this hospital. It was basically just cubes, and I just put a whole bunch of cubes together and shaped some stuff here and there, and pretty much everything just had a blend on it. So if you use Maya, you know what a blend is. So basically just a shiny material. Um, so everything looked like it was plastic. Well, it turned out I did all right with that one, and the art director loved it, and so I kept getting more of those jobs to do. What was really cool about this job is that it was piece rate, and what that means is they had like a list of things they needed made, but I didn't get paid per hour. So it was like they had a list of the things they needed made, and then they had determined on their own how long each thing should take, and they were paying $25 an hour. So if they determined that something was going to take 10 hours, it's $250 for this 10-hour object. I learned really quickly to just do what was necessary for the job and not anything beyond that. So I was probably averaging $200 an hour at one point. It was crazy. But I did work myself out of a job. I was working through those things so fast. Um, so eventually, I like I said, I worked myself out of a job. So then, I didn't have an industry job anymore. Well, I had gotten this internship at another game studio, and uh, that one it was only like 4 months, and didn't pay as well as the other job, but it was industry work, and I would kind of just take whatever I could get, and I wasn't really doing a whole lot. It was supposed to be an animation internship. I did a little bit of animation, but it was mostly just rendering out stuff. So they they had um, like props and clothes and stuff that went on their animal characters, and I just had to make sure that they were attached properly and then render them out. And they gave me the computer they had me using was hodgepodge together with like old parts from discarded computers they had in a back room. It was Yeah, it was awful. So the rendering was so slow on that I would have to hit render when I'd leave for work, which sucked because if something went wrong, I had to redo that. I couldn't do it at work to check in if anything was right. But right about the time that job was ending, the previous job had changed some things and they hired me back. Um, but it was no longer piece rate, and everything was they changed the style. So the guy that was running the thing, he wanted to try and save some money. So instead of doing the toy box thing, he decided he was going to buy assets online. But you can't buy assets for everything you need. So we had to match now Turbo Squid stuff that was more realistic. And I was paid hourly at that point. Or maybe it was salary. I can't remember. Yes, I had learned some things. I learned how to UV map, and I was modeling better at that point. Um, I discovered that I really liked 3D modeling. It's kind of soothing. It's just like, I don't know. For those of you that are doing it, you realize like you can make anything. Like I'm making characters that never existed. I'm making worlds that never existed, and you can like see it and be in it, and you can put it in VR. You can put it in a game, or you can put it in a movie. Like it's so much fun. Um, but I will say, for those of you listening, that there are some dangers to working for small companies, especially startups, because most of my startup jobs kind of went up like this. So the job that I was hired at first and then came back to, it was all investor funded. It was a startup company, and 1 week goes by and they're like, oh, you know what, the investor money hasn't come through yet, but it's going to be here next Tuesday. So you just keep working. Like, okay, I'm going to get paid next Tuesday. Next Tuesday rolls around. Oh, we still don't have it. It'll be Thursday. I let them string me along for like a month and a half, maybe just a month. It was a long time. And at the time, I had a kid, I had a house, and my wife was being a stay-at-home mom. She did preschool in our basement, but it wasn't enough to like support the family. And here I am, not I'm working but not getting any money. Eventually, after that month or so, they were like, the money's not coming. So they laid us all off. So I did all this work. I didn't get any money. Luckily, like a month later, it came through and they paid us all what they owed us, and I did eventually go back to that. Um, but I told myself I would never ever let someone string me along like that again. Except for I did later, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. It's like, yeah, these are like horror stories of working for startup companies. Well, so working for that company again, it got down to where they just had two artists. They had the 2D artist and they had a 3D artist. So I was the 3D artist, and then the 2D artist was doing things like UI and stuff like that for the game icons and whatnot. and they had like 7 programmers and 2 artists, and I know we were definitely getting paid less than everyone else. Um, so one day, we did that for, I don't know, I maybe had that for like 3 months or so. And then one day, the boss comes in and tells me and the other artist that we're being laid off. The 2 artists that they had, but they kept the programming team. And then like a week later, I get a call from this joker. He's like, "Hey, Brian, can you come in and teach me how to do what you were doing?" I was like, "Are you kidding me? You just laid me off, and now you want me to teach you how to do my job?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it for $300." "Oh, I'll pay you. I can pay you 100." I was like, "Well, I'm not coming in for less than $300. So if you want me to come in, it's going to be $300." "Okay, we'll pay you $300." So I go in there at like 8 a.m. and this guy, he's playing an online game called Eve Online. If some of you are familiar with it, I think it's like a space game. I never played it. I guess he was way into it. So I'm there, 8 a.m. He's playing Eve Online, and he's like, "Hold on, I just need to finish what I'm doing." I think I waited like 2.5 hours before he finished his quest. I was like, "This is a freaking joke, man. These investors should fire you, hire us back." So, so he finally gets to the point where I'm helping him out, and it's kind of complicated what we were doing. There was, a large number of things that we had to do to get it ready to go into the game and render and all that. But he didn't know anything about that stuff. So he's getting frustrated because he doesn't understand what I'm telling him that we did. And he's like, "I need to take a break." So we take another break, and he loads up Eve Online. It's like, this is a freaking joke, man. Yeah, so I'd say 90% of that day was me waiting for him to stop playing Eve Online. But hey, I got $300, so what are you gonna do? But industry jobs aren't super easy to come by, at least for someone like me. There's some people that are mega talented that are, people want them. I'm somewhat talented. My big thing is that I get stuff done. I may not be the most talented guy in the room, but I will figure it out. I'll tell you what, I will figure it out. There's been a lot of times where I'll have somebody say, "Hey, can you do this?" And I'll just say yes. And yeah, so the last studio job I had, I got because of somebody I worked with. It was actually that 2D artist. He had gotten a job at this new startup, and yeah, it was. So I got on there, and I think I was making 50,000 a year. Lasted there for 9 months. Got paid for 8 of those. Um, yeah, that was a joke of a company to work for. That guy, that was a slimy guy to work for because he canceled all of our health insurance plans, and we didn't know, so that he could make our payroll. So we're paying into health insurance still. He's taking that money and then paying us back with it. If I had known at the time, I definitely would have taken him to court. I didn't find out for sure until years later that that's what he had done. Yeah, it was a big mess. And then the last month, half the team got laid off after we were all staying like super late getting this product done, and ready for the investors, and then the day, or maybe it was the week after, we all did that. He pulled half the team privately and fired them all, and the other half, he pulled us into another room, and I thought I was getting fired, but we were the ones staying. Turned out that the people that got laid off were the lucky ones because we didn't get paid for that month before they shut the doors. So, anyway, be careful. Don't let people take advantage of you. It's never a good time. But since then, I've changed directions with my career. I'm a teacher now, and I do that full time. I love it. I love it. I love sharing my passion with people. I love teaching them how to do the things that I've learned how to do. It's it's really been a blessing. And I don't think I'll ever change careers from here. But I still do freelance from time to time. And a couple years ago, I had a really big freelance job, like really big. Um, you can check it out. It's called Mighty Man. Though to find it on YouTube, you'd probably want to look up Mighty Wheels. I think that'll come up pretty quickly then. If you type in Mighty Man, there's like a show from the 1970s called Mighty Man. It's not my Mighty Man. Mine's 3D. Well, this guy that was a former student of mine called me up and he was saying, "Hey, I'm making this TV show. Can you make a TV show? Can you make a animated series?" And I was just like, "Yeah, I could do that. I've never made a series before. I've never worked on a series. I've never worked on a movie. I'd never done any of that." And you know what's really hard to Google? How to make a TV show by yourself. Because I didn't have a team, it was just me. So anything on the screen, I had done. So I did all the models, I did all the animation, I did all the rendering, did all the lighting, I did it all. And if you watch season one, you can definitely see the progression of me learning from episode 1 to episode 12. And the timeline was really tight, really tight. I had like 3 weeks to make an episode, and I didn't have pre-production time, so I was making models and in animating the episodes in 3 weeks, and the episodes were like anywhere. It was kind of random. It was anywhere between 3.5 minutes to 5.5 minutes. It was so much work. I was like constantly working on that. Plus, I had my full-time job. But I learned a lot in that process, and we were able to get a season 2, but I demanded a lot more money. And we were able to get help with animating on that one. So I animated half the episodes on season 2, plus a 16-minute Christmas special, which was stressful. I had 2 months to make that Christmas special. But I had remade all the characters. There are 34 characters. And I had made, in season 1, I had made 15 sets. And in season 2, I put all those sets in one world. We put them on an island. And I actually had pre-production time that time. So I had like 4 or 5 months of just being able to make stuff, which was really nice. And everything was way better because season 1, I just had to cut corners because when you have 3 weeks to make something, you just get out what you can and you just do it. Like you just got to say, okay, this is good enough and just move on. And since it was me by myself, there was the learning curve as well with how to make a show. It's wild what you can accomplish if you actually try. I can't believe that I actually pulled it off. I still to this day think about that and just like, how did I do that? But yeah, I haven't worked for a lot of studios. I basically took whatever closely related or closely resembled an art job. I worked for a company that made, or that not made, but they sold Jeep parts, and I was hired to do like photography and video and graphic design work. And I told them that I didn't know how to program, so I couldn't do any of their website stuff, but they made me do it anyway. That was stressful. As artists, we tend to get taken advantage of a lot, especially when we're desperate for work. And I understand. I definitely understand where everyone's coming from. I got to get that job. I got to do what I love to do. But I can promise you that you're worth more than some of these people are willing to pay you. And maybe working for them will get you somewhere else, but maybe not. I did meet people in these jobs that led to other jobs. Um, so there is that aspect of it, but don't let people take advantage of you. Know what your worth is, and if they're going to drastically underpay you, you probably don't want to work for them anyway. And the biggest piece of advice I can give to anybody that's looking to get started into this industry is just start making your own stuff. You don't need a team of people. I'm proof of that. I did have 10 years of industry experience to kind of help me learn that, but you can learn that. Ask questions, reach out to people, comment on this video, ask me questions. I'm definitely interested to know what kind of questions you have and concerns that you might have. Shoot me a message. I'm down. Yeah, let's see what some other jobs that I've done. Just anything that I could just get my hands on. I worked on an interactive story for System 76. They make Linux hardware, and they also have a Linux distro called Pop OS. And so we made something with Unity, and we had some people working on that. It was incredibly frustrating though, because they were not from this country or from my country rather, and communication was difficult. The guy that was modeling stuff was just so slow, and so the guy that was kind of running the show, hiring all the freelance workers, I told him, I was like, let me do these. I won't charge you anything extra. Just let me do these. I'm getting a huge bottleneck because of this guy. So now I'm making the environments, I'm making the characters, I'm rigging everything, I'm animating everything, and I was programming everything. So I didn't know how to code. I was using Playmaker for Unity, and it's like a visual scripting thing. And for me, I can understand that because I understand logic. I just don't understand coding languages. It's kind of hard for me to do. I've tried many times, but every time I try to do something on my own, it just never works. Never works. I've been kind of learning some more lately, and AI's actually been able to assist me in understanding why the things I am doing aren't working. So there are some good uses for AI, and I think I'll do a video on my thoughts on AI. There's a lot of that going around, but maybe some people will appreciate my perspective on it. But yeah, just like make your own stuff. Make small things. You don't need to do giant dream projects. We all have these dream projects, your dream game, your dream movie, your dream show, whatever it is you want to do. It's a lot of work. So do something smaller. Instead of a 15-minute short film, do a 1-minute short film. If you look on my YouTube channel, I have a little short film with a robot. And it was super easy to animate it. I think I made the whole thing. It was like 2 days from start to finish. So anybody can do it. And that one, the animation was really simple. Just figure out what your limitations are and then try to push yourself beyond that. But not too much, because if you try to go too far, too fast, then you're going to get frustrated and you're going to give up. And then you'll just be like, why is this not working out for me? So you just got to, know your limitations, but push a little beyond. Find things that you can do on your own. I've tried working with friends on stuff, and it usually doesn't work out. You can also do things like game jams if you're into games. They should do they probably have animation jams. I should look into that. I've seen some things where you have 48 hours or something to make a short film. But yeah, I'm gonna look into that. If I find anything, I'll put it down in the description. Let people know. But yeah, definitely do your own stuff. Yeah, I guess that's all I got for today. So if you listen to all this, thank you. Appreciate it. And please let me know if you have any questions or what you liked about this format, or if you didn't like it. I guess you're like, this is stupid. Don't do it again. I'm still going to do some tutorials, but I thought this would be good, learnings from somebody in the industry. Anyway, have a great day. I'll see you in the next video.